Mis estudiantes, it is Professora Carlson, Senora Carlson, welcoming you to your first instructional video 1. And this is for Module 1A. This is a two-part module, 2 weeks long for Module 1. And this is the Study Plan Section 1 video. Study Plan Section 1 is entitled Encantado, which is delighted or pleased to meet you. The module itself is entitled Hola, ¿cómo te llamas? Hi, what's your name? Now note that there is a second video that it is also important to watch before you go into Blackboard and work on the Study Plan Section 1. Before we go into our instructional material, let's take a look at Blackboard. When you access Blackboard, the first screen is what's new and due. Always look at My Tasks, and you will see the tasks that are due for the most recent or current module. Notice that Module 1 is split into two, 1A and B, so 2 weeks to complete. Module 1A, the first part is going to be due on the first Sunday after class begins, and materials are always due by midnight Sunday night. The second half of this module will be due the following week again, Sunday midnight. And you're going to notice a research consent form. If you look over to the left, that's the very first item that is due when the program starts. Please click on it, fill it out, sign it, submit it. And this is simply for the individuals who are constructing this learning material, for them to take a look at your learning, how you're accessing it, to see if they can tweak the program to make it better. So I encourage you to sign off on that and allow the creators of the program to use the materials. And by the way, it is your name is not attached to that. It's anonymous. And next you'll notice weekly modules. That is where you will click to get into all of your learning instructional materials and to access the tasks that are your graded items for the course. So let's say we click on weekly modules. You're going to then be shown the module that is due currently will be at the top of the screen. You'll see the first module, Semana 1-2, week 1-2. You will see the dates that that module will be running, the first 2 weeks of instruction. In this case, it happens to be the winter semester that I recorded this particular video. You'll see the name of the module and you'll see what module number it is. If you do see that it's a module A-B scenario, you know that that module is 2 weeks in length. So click on the module and you will come into the module itself and the various areas that you'll be clicking on and accessing for your instruction and graded items. At the top of the list are the instructional videos. Notice the directions are to watch these before you access the various sections of the study plan. Notice below is the study plan itself, but you're accessing the videos, the instruction prior. So you'll look at the top two there and you'll see watch before section 1 of the study plan, and the second video also before section 1. So it will be really important before you go into the study plan itself, that second item, to watch those videos. Continuing just to see the lay of the land here. The next item will always be a discussion, and you'll see the due date for that discussion. In this particular case, the module split into two, so discussion 1 will be due at the end of the first week of instruction. Continuing, you'll see if there is another discussion. In some cases, there will only be one discussion in the module. You'll see the due date. In some cases, there's a collaboration for the module. You will see the due date. For this particular module, because it has 2 parts, the collaboration is due at the end of the second week, as is discussion 2. In some cases, rather than a collaboration or rather than a second discussion, there will be a writing piece. And then you will see the quiz at the very bottom of your list of items to complete. The quiz will always be the very last thing that is completed. It must be completed last in order to get full credit. It's important that you hold on, or hold off, I should say. in completing the quiz until after you actually work with all of the material, study plan, discussion, collaboration, writing. And then by the time you take that quiz, it should be top notch. If you access it beforehand and you say, well, I don't have time for the discussion, I don't have time for the collaboration, I'll just do the quiz, whatever points you get, consider that to be halved. You will get half of that credit because you haven't spent the time on the unit. So let's begin. Study plan section 1, Encantado. The objetivos for this section of the study plan are to identify and use common greetings and goodbyes. Vocabulario, bienvenidos a la clase. Welcome to class is the name of this vocabulary. Saludos y respuestas, greetings and responses. Presentaciones, introductions. And despedidas, farewells. Before we begin, let's have a look at and talk about formal versus familiar. How to say you in Spanish. Spanish culturally has informal and formal ways of speaking to people. And this is a very important of the culture of the Spanish-speaking world, so much so that you can be offensive to somebody if you speak in too familiar of a tone. So to have a look at how this works, let me ask you this question. How many ways can you say you in English? Really only one. You. Maybe in the South they say you all, or maybe you've heard you guys or yuns, but those are slang. There's really only one way to say you. Well, what about Spanish? There are 4. What? Why is that? Let's see. Tú, which is one way to say you, and it's singular, you, is used in informal contexts. So you use tú to address family members, close friends, children, pets. So if your sister, for example, is there, you might say, I need you to help me, tú. If you're speaking to a child in your classroom, tú. If you're speaking to your pet, you are so cute, tú. Now, what about if you're talking to somebody in a formal context, you don't know them well, somebody you're just meeting, somebody older than you use usted. Someone older, strangers, acquaintances, colleagues. So your neighbor across the street that you don't know real well, somebody that you work with that you don't know too well, you will use usted, which also means you, singular. They also have 2 ways to say you, plural. So that's how you come up with the 4. In most of the Spanish-speaking world, ustedes, abbreviated capital UDS period, and you can think of it as usted and usted, ustedes, or tú and tú, ustedes. Ustedes is used to address more than one person, both formally and informally, so you can think of it as saying you all. In Spain, however, instead of ustedes, they say vosotros. That's you all, a group of all male or male and female, or vosotras, you all, a group of all female. So you can think of tú, and tú. That is used instead of ustedes to address an informal group. So like saying you guys, like another way of saying slang. Now this is very important in Spain because if you have 2 friends coming toward you and you say, what are you all doing? And you say, what are ustedes doing? Instead of what are vosotros doing? They might think that you're being weird, talking way too formally for them. So in Spain, it would be important to use vosotros or vosotras. In the module, they always will default to ustedes because that is used in most of the Spanish-speaking world. So there you have it, the 4 ways to say you, tú, usted, ustedes, and vosotros or vosotras. Let's begin with our greetings, saludos. Repita, por favor. And when I say repita, por favor, I'm asking you to repeat, please. Very important that you actually speak. I know I can't hear you, but speak to get practice forming these words. And we always say things 2 times. Repita, hola. Hola. Hi. Repita, buenos días. Buenos días. Good morning or good day, you could say, because the word dia means day. Notice I've underlined this ending. Buen means good. Bueno means good. Buenos is the plural way to say good when the word that you're using with it is also plural. Now, dia is a masculine word. El dia, the day. Dia. So this ending is also masculine, the O, and plural. Buenos días. So repita, por favor. Buenos días. Repita. Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. Take a look. You'll see a different ending here. Instead of the O, there's an A because the word tarde, afternoon, is feminine. La tarde, the afternoon. El día, the day. Tarde here is feminine, plural. So this is a feminine, plural way to say good that has to agree with, go with the word it's describing, or agreeing with, which is afternoon. So repita, buenas tardes. Buenas noches. Buenas noches. Good evening. So you tell me, do you think noches is a feminine plural word or a masculine plural word? You got it. It is a feminine plural word. So the way to say good is the same as with buenas tardes. Repita, buenas noches. Now see if you can come up with what we just learned. ¿Cómo se dice hi? How do you say? ¿Cómo se dice? How do you say hi? Repita, hola. ¿Cómo se dice good morning? Repita, buenos días. ¿Cómo se dice good afternoon? Repita, buenas tardes. Did you remember to use the right ending for buenas? ¿Y cómo se dice good evening? Repita, buenas noches. Muy bien. Let's move on to asking people, how are you? How are you feeling? Repita, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué tal? An informal way to say, how's it going? How's it going? O repita, por favor, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? How are you? Informally. Notice this AS ending. That's the informal conjugation. And that's how you change a verb to match the person that you're talking about. That's the informal conjugation for the verb estar. Estás. And we'll get into all that stuff later. But just notice this ending and also notice the accent. Notice the accents on the question words and on this verb, estás. It changes the pronunciation. So this is how to say how are you informally. Now, if you wanted to, you could tag on the subject pronoun. This is the way to say you. So you could tag that on. You could say, ¿Cómo estás tú? You don't have to add the tú because this form of the verb is only used with tú. So without it, you still know that you're asking, how are you informally. So repita, por favor, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás tú? How would you ask your neighbor across the street that you don't know so well, how are you? And you don't want to be rude and say, ¿Cómo estás tú? That's too informal. Repita, ¿cómo está? ¿Cómo está? How are you in a formal way? Notice the difference in the conjugation, the changing of the verb. There isn't an S on the end. That agrees with tú. There's just the A at the end, but we still have to have that accent. Or you could say, ¿Cómo está usted? If you wanted to enunciate, give more attention to the fact that you're asking you. ¿Cómo está usted? You don't have to have the usted. If you're looking at somebody and talking to them, they know you're asking about you, the person you're directly speaking with. So repita, ¿Cómo está? ¿Cómo está usted? Now, if you're asking more than one person, you have a couple of your neighbors and the Mr. and Mrs. across the street. ¿Cómo están ustedes? How are you all? And this would be formal or informal, the way that you would ask the plural way in almost all parts of the Spanish-speaking world. Repita, por favor, ¿cómo están ustedes? You could also just say ¿cómo están? You can drop that subject pronoun you all, ustedes. How about if you were in Spain? Repita, ¿cómo estáis vosotros? How are you all? Informal just in Spain. And of course, you could drop that vosotros and you could just simply say, ¿cómo estáis? It would be understood who you're asking the question of. So let's see what you remember. How's it going? ¿Cómo se dice how's it going? Repita, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué tal? How are you informally? ¿Cómo estás? What if you wanted to add the subject pronoun you? ¿Cómo estás tú? To give a little extra emphasis on the you. ¿Cómo se dice how are you in a formal way? ¿Cómo está? What if you wanted to give emphasis to the you? ¿Cómo está usted? That's the formal you. ¿Cómo se dice how are y'all in most of the Spanish-speaking world? ¿Cómo están ustedes? Or just ¿cómo están if you were lazy, didn't want to add the you all subject pronoun. What about if you were in Spain? ¿Cómo estáis vosotros? Or just ¿cómo estáis? Muy bien. Now you need some answers. Somebody asked, how are you? Let's see how you might answer. Repita, estoy muy bien. Estoy muy bien. I am very well. You could also say, estoy bien. I am well. You could also be lazy and you could just answer, bien. But for practice, whenever I ask you to present a writing piece, please always write in a complete sentence with a subject and verb. Estoy muy bien. I am very well. Let's continue. Repita. Estoy bastante bien. Estoy bastante bien. I am quite or fairly well. Repita. Estoy más o menos. Estoy más o menos. I am okay. Really, the translation is more or less, más o menos, but it's one way to say, I'm okay. Repita, estoy regular. Great cognate. A cognate is a Spanish word that looks like or is exactly like or almost exactly like its English. In this case, regular is spelled exactly the same. It's just the Spanish pronunciation, regular. Estoy regular. I am okay. And the real translation for regular is regular. Repita, estoy así así. Estoy así así. Important to have the accents there. Again, another way to say I'm okay, así así means so-so. Repita, estoy mal. Estoy mal. I am sick. Mal means poor or bad. Mal, in this case, I am poorly, not doing well. Note, yo, which is the subject pronoun that means I, may be included in expressions, or it can be omitted because you know that this form of the verb just goes with yo, with I. So, examples, instead of estoy muy bien, you could say yo estoy bien. You could add the yo, I am feeling well. Estoy mal, you could say yo estoy mal. But it doesn't have to be included because you know that estoy means I am feeling a certain way. And then to continue, some continuation of this little conversation, gracias. Repita, gracias. Thank you. Then you might want to ask, oh, and you turn the question in their direction. Repita, ¿y usted? ¿Y usted? The Y in Spanish by itself means and it's pronounced E, like the letter E. Usted, and you formally. How would you say and you in an informal way? What's the informal or what's the subject pronoun for you, informal? Y. Muy bien. ¿Y tú? And you informally. Take a look and let's see what you remember. ¿Cómo se dice I am very well? Repita, estoy muy bien. ¿Cómo se dice I am quite well or I am fairly well? Estoy bastante bien. I am okay. Specifically, more or less. Repita, estoy más o menos. I am okay. Specifically, regular. Repita, estoy regular. I am okay. Specifically, so-so. Repita, estoy así así. And what about I'm sick, doing poorly? Estoy mal. And then you say thank you to that person. Gracias. And you ask them, and you? And if you're speaking to someone, you need to be formal. Repita, ¿y usted? And you informally. ¿Y tú? Muy bien, una pausa, la práctica. Let's take a little pause and let's practice and make a mini conversation here. So let's begin with our greetings. Do you remember what they are? Repita. Hola. Buenos días. Buenas tardes. Buenas noches. And I hope you're repeating after me. Get that practice. Form that muscle memory by saying the words. And then, how do you ask, how are you? Repita, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo está? Which one of those two is informal? Right. ¿Cómo estás tú? How are you, my friend? ¿Cómo está usted? How are you? Somebody I don't know so well. Some answers. Repita, estoy muy bien. Estoy bastante bien. Estoy más o menos. Estoy regular. Estoy así así. Continuing, gracias. ¿Y usted? ¿Y tú? Now, what if somebody says they're not feeling well? Estoy mal. It's a good idea to make a response of some type, right? If somebody says they're not feeling well, usually what do we say? Lo siento. I'm sorry. Lo siento. And then you would ask, I'm sorry. So somebody says, how are you feeling? I'm feeling poor. I'm feeling poorly. I'm sorry. And you? Muy bien. Now let's continue with presentaciones. You want to know some names and you want to give your name. So you ask somebody, ¿Cómo te llamas? Repita, ¿cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? Notice how I pronounce this double L. Llama, y. The double L is pronounced like a Y sound, y. I know that the word llama is spelled double L, so it's actually pronounced incorrectly, right? So, ¿cómo te llamas? Which means, what is your name in air quotes? It literally means, how do you call yourself? The interrogative question word como means how. How do you call yourself is how that's constructed, and this is informal. Look at this verb. It ends in S, like estás ends in S, right? So that might give you some clues that it's informal. Also, the te, yourself, starts with a T like tú. That can help you remember that that's the informal way to ask, what's your name? How do you call yourself? What about somebody you don't know who's older than you? Repita, ¿cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama? What's your name in air quotes? This is how do you call yourself formally. Notice the verb is lacking the S, like in ¿Cómo está usted? There is no S. So this can give you a clue that it's the formal way to ask someone's name. To answer, you can say one of three things. You could start with soy or yo soy, I am. Just saying soy, it's a given that the I is in there, so you don't have to include the subject pronoun I. Soy or yo soy. You could also say me llamo, I call myself. Notice the ending of the verb. It's not AS, it's not A, it's O. And this is the ending in most cases when a verb is I am doing something. So this is I call myself. Me llamo. Repita. Me llamo. Me llamo. Or finally, you could say mi nombre es. Repita. Mi nombre es. Mi nombre es. My name is. So 3 ways you could say that. So for my example, I could say yo soy Deborah. Soy Deborah. Me llamo Deborah. Mi nombre es Deborah. Caution. Me llamo es is incorrect. I always get this from students. I'll say, ¿Cómo se llama? To a student that I don't know. And they'll say, Me llamo es because they think that they are saying, my name is. Me llamo es. But what are they really saying? I call myself is. Really? That's not a way that anybody wants to speak Spanish. If they want to sound like they know what they're talking about, I call myself is. So either mi nombre es, my name is, or me llamo and your name. But don't pick and choose different pieces from different ones and mix them up. Keep them distinct. Me llamo or mi nombre es. Never me llamo es. I call myself is. Really? Let's continue and see what you remember. ¿Cómo se dice what's your name? Air quotes, informally. Repita, ¿cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo se dice? How do you call yourself formally? ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se dice I am? Soy or yo soy? What about I call myself? Me llamo. And finally, my name is. Mi nombre es. So you've met somebody and now you want to say, oh, nice to meet you. So let's see how we might do that. Repita, encantado. Encantado, which means delighted or nice to meet you. This is the way somebody would say that if they happen to be male. It ends in an O. This is an adjective describing the speaker. I am delighted. So it needs to agree with, match the gender, masculine, feminine of the speaker, encantado. So if you were a female, how would you say delighted? Guess. Muy bien, encantada. Delighted or nice to meet you if you're female. And that ending now has changed to an A. You can elongate that expression by saying encantado de conocerte. Repita, encantado de conocerte. Nice to meet or nice to know you. And again, this is for a person who's masculine, a male speaking. For female, repita, encantada de conocerte. Nice to know you or nice to meet you, spoken by a female. You also might say, mucho gusto. Repita, mucho gusto. Mucho gusto, which means much pleasure or pleasure to meet you. Repita, el gusto es mío. El gusto es mío. The pleasure is mine. A few things to notice. Mío has an accent over the I. And this word, my, is agreeing with gusto. So this never changes to an A, like what's happening up here, because this is agreeing with the word gusto, not with the speaker. The pleasure is mine. And finally, Repita igualmente. Igualmente, which means likewise, same. The literal translation is equally. So pleased to meet you. Me too. You might say encantado igualmente. Mucho gusto igualmente. You might say mucho gusto. El gusto es mío. So they can be mixed and matched, one person to the other. So see what you remember. ¿Cómo se dice nice to meet you spoken by a male? Repita. Encantado. Spoken by a female. Encantada. Nice to meet you or nice to know you. The elongated expression of encantado, encantada. Encantado de conocerte. What about spoken by a female? Encantada de conocerte. Much pleasure to meet you. Repita, mucho gusto. The pleasure is mine. Repita, el gusto es mío. And what about likewise, same? Literal translation, equally. Igualmente. Repita, igualmente. Notice this ending mente, that is the ly. So igual means equal, igualmente means equally. Little tip there, because it'll come in handy as you go through the various modules. Now we're going to present someone to somebody else. First, let's look at the titles. Repita, señora. Señora. Mrs. Abbreviated capital SRA period. Notice the tilde, the little backwards upside down, or S rather on its side, señora. Without that, this is senora. It's not only misspelled, it's mispronounced. So very important to have that tilde over the N. Repita, señor. Señor, Mr. Repita, señorita. Señorita, Miss. Repita, le presento a. Le presento a, which means I present to you, and the you in this case is somebody formal. I present to you. So it might be your teacher you're presenting a classmate to. It might be your brother you're presenting a neighbor you don't know so well across the street. Something like that. Por ejemplo, Señor López, le presento a Pablo. So, Señor López, I present to you Pablo. This little a is a personal a. Don't worry about it too much. But when a person is a subject of a verb, there's this little personal a to indicate that it's a person and not an object. So don't worry about that too much, but you might see it thrown in there now and then, and I want you to know it's called a personal a. What if you are presenting somebody to your friend? Le presento would be too formal. Repita, te presento a. Te presento a, I present to you, and the you that you're presenting to is informal. Por ejemplo, Pedro, te presento a Pablo. Pedro's your friend, and you're presenting Pablo to him. ¿Cómo se dice Mrs.? Repita, señora. Mr. Repita, señor. Miss. Repita, señorita. ¿Cómo se dice I present to you, and the you is somebody formal? Repita, le presento a, and then the person's name. ¿Cómo se dice I present to you informally? Te presento a, and then the person's name. Now, instead of saying I present to you, you might want to say this is. Repita, esta es. Esta es. And the person that you're introducing is a female. Por ejemplo, esta es Margarita. Esta es Señora López. The esta, the a, is because the person that you're presenting is feminine. So this needs to agree, the way to say this. Notice there is no accent over the a. If you put the accent there, first it would change the pronunciation from esta to está. And it would change this, the word esta meaning this, to está meaning is. It would actually change it to the verb that we've been using, como está. So don't do that. What if the person you're presenting is male? Repita, este es. This is, the person is male. Por ejemplo, este es Marco. Here's your ejemplo. Esta es María y este es Pablo. Try repeating that. Repita. Esta es María y este es Pablo. Another way of getting to know somebody is saying or asking where we're from. Repita. ¿De dónde es? ¿De dónde es? Where are you from? Notice in Spanish, they actually say from where are you? Okay, the from is at the beginning of the question. We actually speak English incorrectly. Where are you from? This is dangling at the end. It should be up front. ¿De dónde es? And this is the formal way to say are. Where are you from? ¿De dónde es? You could add the formal subject pronoun usted for to add a little more emphasis. Repita, ¿de dónde es usted? What if you wanted to ask somebody where are you from, but it's someone younger, a child, and that would be too formal? Repita, ¿de dónde eres? Where are you from informally? If you wanted to add the informal subject pronoun, it's not usted, it is tú. Repita, ¿de dónde eres tú? ¿De dónde eres tú? And how would you answer that? Soy. You already know that one. I am. And then you take the word from and you add it. Soy de. I am from. You could also say yo soy de if you wanted to add the I. Ejemplo, soy de Nueva York. Let's say New York in Spanish. Nueva York. Repita, soy de Nueva York. I am from New York. ¿Cómo se dice this is and the person is female? Repita, esta es. This is, the person is male. Repita, este es. ¿Cómo se dice where are you from? And you're speaking to somebody you need to be formal with. ¿De dónde es? ¿De dónde es usted? Repita, ¿de dónde es? ¿De dónde es usted? What about informally? Repita, ¿de dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres tú? And ¿cómo se dice I am from? With or without the actual I. Repita, soy de. Yo soy de. Muy bien. Finalmente, we've gotten to the end here, so we need to say farewell. Repita, adiós. Adiós. Which means goodbye. I think everybody pretty much knows that one. Notice you have to have that accent over the O, or it would be adiós, right? So it needs to be adiós with the stress at the end. Repita, ciao. Ciao. Quick way to just say bye. Now notice the word ciao comes from the Italian word ciao, spelled differently. And in Italian it means both hello and goodbye, but in Spanish it only is used to say goodbye. The spelling has been changed to reflect Spanish pronunciation. Repita, ciao. Repita, hasta luego. Hasta luego, which means until later. In air quotes, I put in here, we would say see you later, but realize that the word hasta means until. This is kind of easy to remember because luego starts with L, like later. Repita, hasta mañana. Hasta mañana. Until tomorrow, or air quotes, see you tomorrow. Repita, hasta pronto. Hasta pronto. Until soon, air quotes, see you soon. Repita, nos vemos. Nos vemos, which means see you, or until we see each other. Nos vemos. So, ¿cómo se dice goodbye? Repita, adiós. ¿Cómo se dice bye? Repita, chao. ¿Cómo se dice see you later, until later? Hasta luego, until tomorrow. Repita, hasta mañana, until soon. Repita, hasta pronto. See you, or until we see each other. Repita, nos vemos. Muy bien, it is the end of instructional video 1. And this again was for Module 1A, Study Plan Section 1. So it's time now to access instructional video 2 for Module 1A before you actually go into that study plan. Adiós, mis estudiantes.